Does Sazed from the Mistborn trilogy remind you of anyone? I'll tell you who he reminds me of, but first, big spoilers in this video. Do not watch this video if you have not read all 3 books in the Mistborn trilogy. When I hear people talk about their favorite character from the Mistborn books, I don't normally hear people bring up Sazed, and I don't know why. I think he's such a fantastic character. And not just because who he reminds me of, which is Data from Star Trek. I don't think it's an exact parallel. Yes, there's lots of differences, but the main thing that makes me think of Data when I read Sazed's character are things like how he always speaks calmly and politely no matter the situation. If there's a hugely intense emotional moment, Sazed just speaks kindly and calmly. Sazed also shows respect to all people, no matter who they are. That's just the kind of person he is. He can be much stronger than he appears, and he has a wealth of knowledge stored within him. Now, I know this doesn't make him just like Lieutenant Commander Data, but when I read Sazed, I just hear Data's voice in my head. If you're not a Star Trek fan, that's okay. Imagine his voice however you want. You might notice since my last Mistborn video, I learned how to pronounce his name. I always said Sazed in my mind. Just one of those things where you're reading the book and you never hear it out loud, and then you find out how wrong you are. So Sazed kind of makes me laugh in book 1 because he considers himself to be a rebel. When he looks at his own actions and what he has done, he sees such a rebellious person. That's not what other people see when they look at him. They look at him and they see the submissive servant who is always doing things for other people. And this is just one of those things where you don't always see yourself clearly, or maybe you see yourself more clearly than other people see you, but your perception of yourself versus others' perception of yourself are usually far different from each other. Sazed is a man of deep and strong convictions. We can see that he takes being a religious keeper very seriously. This is his life's work. His life's ambition is to see what he does come to fruition later. He knows with confidence how important his job is, and he wants to share his knowledge to benefit other people. He also feels passionately about freeing his people from the Lord Ruler's oppression, and not just his people, but all people who are under that oppression, and this is part of why he rebelled. Yes, he was doing an important job underneath the Lord Ruler's very nose, but that wasn't enough for him. He wants to go further. He wants to free people from the Lord Ruler. I see Sazed trying to be a good friend in book 1. He supports Kelsier, he supports Vin, and of any character since Lord of the Rings, I see Sazed being the closest thing to what we see in Sam, though we don't really see that often, in that he is kind of a supporter and kind of in a servant role, but he loves his friends and does what he can for them. Now, there are a lot of scenes where we see Sazed trying to convert people to all these religions he has stored in his mind. I don't really see him as actually trying to convert people. What he wants to do is he wants to give them hope and comfort. He knows that his knowledge carries import, and he wants to share it with his friends. Okay, book 2. They did it! The Lord Ruler is gone. They're free. Sazed can finally fulfill his purpose, the thing he's been preparing for his entire life. But it's not what he expects. I think this is relatable. The thing that you feel passionately about and you want to go and do, and you want people to share in this, and you discover that other people just don't think it's as important as you do. Sazed is learning this. He wants to go do what he's been preparing for his whole life and share all his wealth of knowledge with the people who need it the most. And he ends up in these tiny little villages, digging graves, figuring out that his dreams don't turn out to be what he expected them to be. He expected to be met with excitement. When he comes to a village to share his knowledge, the villagers should be saying, "Finally, we can learn all the things that the Lord Ruler was keeping from us." But instead, he is met with apathy. We never needed this stuff before, so why do we need it now? And in some cases, he's even met with hostility. The Lord Ruler may have brought oppression, but he also brought stability. How disappointing to have your life's work or your life's passion so unappreciated. I think this is so relatable because we want people to care about what we care about, and it can feel kind of lonely if they don't. That's why it can be so exciting to meet someone else who shares an interest of yours. That moment of, I thought I was the only person who cared about this. Somebody else gets it. Somebody else gets me. And someone else does get Sazed, Tindwyl, fellow Terraceman and Keeper. There is a moment in book 2 where Tindwyl says to Sazed, "I know this is important to you. Show me." What a good example of friendship that is. How many of us have someone like that in our lives to say to us, "Hey, I know this is important to you. Will you please show me?" It can be so easy to go through life feeling like no one else cares about you because they don't care about what you care about. And so often you don't even want to talk about the things you're interested in, the things that make you excited, because when you talk about it, they don't listen or they judge you, or worse, they make fun of you for it. I have a quote that I had on my classroom wall, something along the lines of, "Never be embarrassed of the things that make your weird little heart happy." I fully support that. And to be honest, how many of us do that for our friends? How often do we go to our friend and say, "Hey, this thing that's important to you, will you please show me?" I think we could stand to do that for our friends far more often. Back to Sazed. He has such a low opinion of himself. He does not believe that Tindwyl could actually care for him or love him. And he doesn't think she should try to love him because she'll just be disappointed. If that sounds relatable to you, stop it. You don't get to decide what someone else wants. And you are worth more than you think you are. Also, why does Sazed think that Tindwyl needs his man parts to be in working order for her? This is one of the reasons he thinks that he would be a lesser mate for her. She was a breeder. She was subjected to use by men since she was old enough to bear children. So in this regard, Sazed is probably the perfect man for her. He can be the perfect companion in her life that she needs. She doesn't need that part of the relationship from him. In fact, it's probably kind of a relief that they won't have that together. She left the breeding program and is probably happy to leave that part of her life behind her. And then, Sanderson, you disappointed me. I want Sazed to be happy. And then he loses Tindwyl. This is a tragedy for him. His loss of her is so tragic. All loss in life is tragic, and it affects him so deeply. I hate that he finally finds love in his life, and then it's swiftly taken away from him. From a story perspective, I get it. This affects his character arc for the 3rd book. This loss causes his crisis of faith that gets him to where he needs to be for the big finale of this story. I still don't like it, though. So by the time we get to book 3, Sazed is struggling. He's struggling bad. He feels like everything in his life that he valued before is just useless and pointless. And he spends a lot of book 3 searching for meaning, searching for truth. This guy has studied religions his whole life, and now he sees one starting to form right in front of him. This is so illuminating for him. He holds all the past remembered religions in his mind, and now he is a first-hand witness to the beginnings of the Church of the Survivor. He starts to see what religion really means to some people, and for a lot of them, it means hope. Sazed knows so much about faith, but where is his faith? I think he's too close. Religions have been such a huge part of his life for his entire life. He is so close to them, he can't see them clearly or see what they mean clearly. You know when a little kid wants to show you something and they put it this close? Yeah, that doesn't work. And he is incredibly close. The religions are inside him. Well, inside his metal minds, whatever. And though Sazed has had many horrific things in his life, nothing was ever as personal as losing Tindwyl. It was so easy for him to tell other people to have faith when his hadn't truly been tested yet. And at Sazed's lowest point, where he's basically crying out to the heavens, along comes Tensoon. By the way, probably my favorite character in the entire trilogy. I love Tensoon. Tensoon gives him the one little clue he needs to rekindle his hope. And going with Tensoon to his homeland solidifies his faith so much stronger than it ever was before. In fact, at the very end of the trilogy, when the hero of ages is needed so desperately, Sazed does not waver. He is absolutely certain that the hero will come. He just didn't realize yet that it's him. Sazed has the biggest crises of faith in these books, and he has the biggest destiny to fulfill. His purpose is so much more than he ever thought. His life was devoted to these religions of the world. He expected one thing, which was his knowledge can help bring the world back to life. Which it does, but not in the way he expects. I feel like I could relate to Sazed so much during the moments in book 2 where he felt like, this is my job now. This is the purpose I was meant for. This is not what I imagined. And he spent so much time trying to get other people to care. But all that time, all his life, all his research and study and passion and everything about him, who he is, was leading up to him being the one who gets to heal the entire world. And honestly, who better? Sazed, in all his humbleness, thinks that Vin deserved the power more than anyone else. Come on, Sazed. You're the hero. If you have read the Mistborn books, you might enjoy my video about Vin, and let me know if you saw that ending coming, or maybe you expected a different twist. I did not see it coming at all, and I'm still not sure how I feel about it. Subscribe to my channel for more fantasy character studies. Shout out to Reading Rosie's channel. She is a smart and hilarious girl who loves to talk about books, but adult content warning. And see you next time. Bye!